Nutz garage, and today we're going to be back working on the 1978 F-350. And what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be putting some seam sealer around the areas that I removed the old seam sealer. So we're going to put some new seam sealer on there, and then we're also going to scuff up the primer, and then we're going to put on some Herculiner bedliner material as undercoating. So let's get started with this. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is put our seam sealer on, and this is some seam sealer I bought at O'Reilly's. It's like $15 for this tube, and this is just a basic caulking gun that you can get at Walmart. Probably even the Dollar General probably has these things. So I've gone ahead and punctured the seal inside the tube, and I'm just going to put it in the gun, give it a couple of cranks, and it's got it locked in there. The areas that I'm going to be putting my seam sealer is right here in this lip that goes all the way across. I removed some of the old seam sealer, so I'm going to put some new in there. Down on this lip all the way across back in here. And then down here, there's some areas that I removed some of the old seam sealer, and I'm going to put some more in there. And I'm also just going to kind of go around the edge of where I welded in my floor pan, and then up here as well. So I've got a few tools. I got a little putty knife, and I got an old chisel in case I need to put a little pressure on something. And I got an old paintbrush, you know, and well, it ain't old, but a little 10-cent paintbrush you can get anywhere. What I'm going to do with this is probably use it in the areas where it's kind of hard to get to just kind of smooth it out in there. Because by looking at the old seam sealer, it looks like they used some sort of brush on it. It's probably a little narrower than this brush, probably a 1-inch brush, but I don't have an extra 1-inch brush laying around, so I'm going to just use what I have. So I'm going to get started on this. So basically I have the angle of my tip here just cut at a slight angle. What I'm going to do is just kind of run it down through here like this all the way back. I'm going to get it up in the I would call it up in this tube. You can see it's trying to come out now. It's kind of like running caulk, I'm assuming. In these kind of areas right here, it's kind of hard, so I want to get into, so I'm just going to run a bead. And that's what my putty knife's for, just so I can kind of smush it down in there. And I'm just going to kind of do that all the way across. That bead here looks pretty good, but I'm going to take this brush and just kind of run it across like this. And that's going to make it kind of look more like the factory seam sealer, I'm guessing, since they look to me like a brush. So I'm going to continue to work on this and down here the same way, and I'll be right back. Now that I've got my seam sealer applied, we have to wait about 30 minutes before we can start painting it. So during that time, I'm just going to take a Scotch-Brite pad and I'm going to just start scuffing up the areas, the primer on the underside of this cab. And then once I get that done, I'm just going to kind of quickly wipe it down, and then I'm going to tack cloth it real quick, and then we'll start spraying. I have the cans of Herculiner, and I have them in the house in some hot water, trying to keep them pretty warm. It's kind of cool out this morning, so I want the cans to be warm so that way when I start spraying, it'll spray evenly and I don't have to worry about any problems with the nozzles. So I'm gonna get started on this, and let's get at it. All right, so now that we have the seam sealer on the truck and we have it all sanded and have it wiped down, what we're going to start doing is applying the Herculiner bedliner material. So I have 6 cans of this, and I'm hoping that is enough to cover all of this. But on YouTube, I've seen some other people use it. They've had pretty good results. So I'm hoping that this has about a medium finish to it. I don't want it too lumpy and too textured, but I don't want it just like paint and flat. So I'm gonna start at the top of the cab and work my way down. And so let's get started. So now I've only used 2 cans of this Herculiner bedliner spray on the underside of this cab. It sprays pretty well, as long as, like I said, I've had it in hot water in there for several hours, but it comes out of the can pretty good. In some places it come out a little bit too good because it will run on you. Kind of the best way to do it is kind of do it in spurts, you know, psh, psh, psh. Just holding it down, you can build up a lot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this dry for about 30 minutes, and I'm going to put my 3rd and final can on it. I'm just going to try to go all over it, and anywhere there was maybe a little runny spot, I'm going to try to blend that in a little bit. But it's under the truck, so who's going to see it but me? Probably nobody. So I'll do that, and then once it's all done and dry, I'll come back and I'll show you the finished product. So I'm finally put 3 cans on the underside of this cab of this Herculiner bedliner material that I'm using for an undercoating. The key to this coating is to keep those cans warm. I had my 3rd can that kind of got about room temperature, and it didn't want to spray as well. So keep those cans in some hot water right before you use them. That way they flow out good. But it looks good. I'm just hoping that the durability will last. Like I said, I wanted to use Raptor liner, but I didn't have a big enough compressor, so I just used these cans. So that's it. I have sprayed out pretty good that I'm thinking about using it inside the truck for once I clean my floor pans or my floorboards. I'm going to use it in there on that. So now that we've got the underside of the cab sprayed with the Herculiner bedliner material, our next step is going to be getting the cab off of the frame completely and getting it onto a wooden, I'm going to call it a dolly. So that way we can move the cab around when I need to, and we can get to working on the frame. So what I want to do is get the frame torn down, get it all painted, new parts put on it, and get it back to where it's a rolling chassis. Go ahead and get the engine done and transmission hooked up while it's just still a rolling chassis, and then we'll get this, probably take the cab and the hood and the fenders, once we get them all sanded down, we'll probably take them to get to a spray booth somewhere. That's the plan, or I'll have a spray booth here that's kind of temporary and I can use it here. So, but that's the plan, is to get the cab off the frame and get that frame rebuilt, so that way we can start putting it all back together. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment. Just comment something. I don't care if it's where you're from, if you hate the truck, if you love the truck, if you got a truck like it, if you've ever tried to use this material before. It don't matter. Just comment something. So that's all I'm asking. Just comment. Well, have a blessed day. I got other stuff to do. I'll see y'all later.